America is famous for freedom, innovation, and opportunity, but it's also famous for having some of the strangest, most backwards laws you'll ever hear of. What if I told you a burglar could sue you for getting hurt while breaking into your house? Or that criminals can literally walk free just because the justice system took too long? Today, we're counting down the 33 dumbest laws in the US that seem to protect criminals more than innocent people. Some of these are so outrageous you'll laugh, others will make you angry, and the last one will absolutely blow your mind. So stick around, because you do not want to miss number 33. And before we jump in, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss future mind-blowing lists. 1. The burglar who can sue you. Imagine this. A burglar sneaks into your home, trips over a loose carpet, breaks his ankle, and then sues you for damages. Sounds insane, right? But in states like California and New York, courts have allowed criminals to sue homeowners for unsafe conditions, even though they were committing a crime. Instead of being punished, these burglars walk away with cash settlements, leaving victims scratching their heads at the absurdity of the law. 2. No duty to retreat for criminals too. Stand your ground laws were created to protect law-abiding citizens defending themselves. But clever defense attorneys have flipped these laws, allowing criminals to claim they used force in self-defense, even when they instigated the fight. In some states, this loophole has allowed violent offenders to avoid longer sentences, all because they argued they felt threatened during the crime they themselves started. 3. The 3 strikes loophole. 3 strikes and you're out sounds tough on crime, right? But in practice, prosecutors often reduce charges so that serious crimes don't officially count as strikes. For example, an armed robbery might be reduced to simple theft during plea bargaining, letting the offender avoid a life sentence. This manipulation of the system has allowed repeat violent criminals to walk free much earlier than expected. 4. Shoplifters protected by excessive force rules. If a store owner catches someone stealing, you'd think they could just stop them. But in many states, shopkeepers can only detain thieves if they follow strict legal guidelines. Too much force, even grabbing a thief too tightly, and suddenly you face charges for assault. Some shoplifters actually bank on this, knowing store owners fear lawsuits more than stolen merchandise. 5. Looting during emergencies. During natural disasters or civil unrest, looting often spikes. Laws exist to increase penalties for looters, but here's the catch. Courts are so overwhelmed during crises that prosecutors often don't pursue charges at all. Looters know this and take advantage of the chaos. Instead of harsher punishment, many walk away free simply because the system prioritizes other cases. 6. The spousal testimony loophole. Marriage is supposed to be sacred, but in criminal law, it can also be a shield. In many states, a husband or wife cannot be forced to testify against their spouse. That means if a criminal's spouse witnessed the crime, their testimony can legally be withheld. Some criminals even marry key witnesses to silence them in court. Romantic? No. Strategic? Definitely. 7. Time-barred crimes, aka statute of limitations. Statutes of limitations exist to prevent old, weak evidence from clogging courts. But this also means criminals can literally wait out the clock. White-collar criminals who commit fraud or embezzlement often exploit these deadlines. If prosecutors miss the time frame, sometimes just a few years, the criminal cannot be charged at all, no matter how guilty they are. 8. Civil asset forfeiture, helping criminals too. We usually hear about civil asset forfeiture hurting innocent people whose property is seized, but criminals have also turned it into a weapon. Some drug dealers have won back luxury cars, houses, and piles of cash by arguing that police didn't follow proper forfeiture procedures. Instead of losing their ill-gotten gains, they end up celebrating a legal victory. 9. Squatters' rights. Believe it or not, In certain states, trespassers who live in someone's property long enough can claim legal rights to the home. It's called adverse possession. That means a criminal who breaks into your vacant house, changes the locks, and squats for a period of time could end up with ownership rights. The law, meant to encourage land use, now lets criminals literally steal homes without paying a dime. 10. Juvenile record protection. Juvenile records are often sealed when offenders turn 18, which sounds compassionate. But this also wipes the slate clean for violent or repeat offenders. A teen who committed armed robbery at 17 can legally apply for jobs at 18 without the crime showing up. While the intent is to protect young people from lifelong stigma, it sometimes protects predators from accountability. 11. The felon voting loophole. Felons lose voting rights in many states, but some restore those rights after time served. That includes criminals convicted of election fraud. Yes, you can be caught tampering with democracy, serve your sentence, and then legally vote again in some states. Critics argue this loophole undermines the very integrity of elections. 12. Insanity plea abuse. The insanity defense was designed to protect the genuinely mentally ill, but it's one of the most abused loopholes in criminal law. Criminals have faked disorders, exaggerated symptoms, or manipulated psychiatric evaluations to avoid prison. Instead of serving hard time, they end up in mental hospitals with shorter stays, and sometimes are released back into society far earlier than they would have been from prison. 13. Double jeopardy. The Constitution prevents anyone from being tried twice for the same crime. It's an important safeguard, but it also means criminals acquitted due to poor evidence or courtroom mistakes can never be retried, even if new proof surfaces later. Murderers have literally confessed years later, but could not be retried because of this legal shield. 14. Self-incrimination loophole. You have the right to remain silent is vital, but sometimes it helps criminals escape justice. Refusing to answer key questions or withholding self-incriminating information has allowed defendants to dodge deeper investigations. In extreme cases, silence becomes a strategy to avoid exposing the full extent of their crimes. 15. Speedy trial requirement. The Sixth Amendment guarantees a speedy trial to prevent indefinite detention. But if courts take too long due to overcrowding or backlog, defendants can argue their rights were violated. Judges sometimes dismiss cases entirely, letting criminals walk free, not because they were innocent, but because the system was slow. 16. Bail for dangerous criminals. Bail reform was meant to stop poor people from rotting in jail for minor offenses. But in practice, violent offenders sometimes benefit too. In states with bail reform, criminals arrested for serious crimes, armed robbery, assault, are released within hours. Some go straight back out and commit new crimes the very same day. 17. Statutory rape loopholes. Romeo and Juliet laws were created to protect young couples close in age. But in some states, older offenders have used these laws to argue down harsher sentences, claiming relationships were consensual even when there was a clear age gap. What was meant as protection for teens is being twisted into protection for predators. 18. Good behavior credits. Prisoners can earn good time credits that shorten their sentences if they behave. On paper, it incentivizes rehabilitation. But in practice, dangerous criminals have shaved off years and returned to society early, only to commit crimes again. A murderer serving 25 years might walk out in 15, all because he stayed quiet and swept floors in prison. 19. Early release for overcrowding. When prisons get too full, some states release inmates early to ease overcrowding. Unfortunately, this includes not just minor offenders, but sometimes violent criminals. Instead of building better facilities or reforming sentencing, states just open the gates and let people go, putting communities at risk. 20. The entrapment defense.
Entrapment laws prevent police from tricking innocent people into crimes.
But criminals have flipped it, claiming officers encourage them, even when they were already willing to commit the crime.
Skilled lawyers sometimes convince juries that the police, not the criminal, are at fault, leading to dropped charges. 21. Minimum sentencing workarounds. Mandatory minimums are supposed to ensure criminals serve serious time.
But clever plea deals often downgrade charges so minimums don't apply.
A drug trafficker who should get 10 years might plead guilty to possession and serve only 18 months.
Prosecutors get quick wins, but society pays the price.
22. The intoxication defense. In some states, being drunk or high can actually reduce criminal responsibility. Defendants argue they were too intoxicated to form intent. Imagine assaulting someone, then saying, "I was wasted, I didn't mean it," and getting a lighter sentence. 23. No duty to rescue. Most states don't legally require you to help someone in danger. That means criminals who stand by during emergencies or even film crimes instead of stopping them face no punishment. You can literally watch someone drown, and as long as you didn't cause it, the law doesn't punish you. 24. Castle Doctrine confusion. Castle Doctrine laws let you defend yourself in your own home. But in some states, criminals have twisted these protections by claiming they acted in self-defense after breaking in and being confronted. That's right, an intruder can argue that you threatened them. 25. Marijuana convictions wiped clean. As marijuana becomes legal, many states are erasing past convictions. While this helps minor offenders, it also wipes records of large-scale dealers who weren't small-time users, but major traffickers. Suddenly, people who made fortunes illegally are treated like harmless stoners. 26. The fruit of the poisonous tree rule. If police collect evidence illegally, even by accident, it cannot be used in court. This rule is meant to keep police honest, but it also lets guilty criminals walk free. Imagine police finding a kidnapped child during an illegal search, only for the abuser to go free because the evidence was tainted. 27. The ex post facto rule. Laws can't apply retroactively. That means if a state toughens penalties today, anyone who committed the same crime yesterday cannot face the new punishment. Criminals sometimes rush to commit crimes knowing harsher laws are about to be passed. 28. Parole board power. Parole boards decide who's ready for release, but they're often overly optimistic. Dangerous offenders put on good behavior shows for years, get released early, and immediately reoffend. Communities pay for parole boards' mistakes while criminals exploit the system. 29. Criminals suing police for emotional distress. Some criminals have successfully sued police for emotional distress during arrest. Imagine resisting arrest, being tackled, and then winning money because you were traumatized. In some cases, courts side with the criminal, leaving taxpayers footing the bill. 30. The mistake of law excuse. Normally, ignorance of the law is no excuse. But in complex cases, criminals sometimes argue they didn't know an action was illegal. Shockingly, some courts accept this defense. This means people committing fraud or tax evasion can dodge punishment by playing dumb. 31. Plea bargains gone wrong. Plea deals speed up the justice system, but they also let serious criminals off easy. Instead of risking trial, prosecutors cut deals. A rapist might plead guilty to assault, avoiding the full penalty. Plea bargains often protect criminals more than victims. 32. The right to privacy, even for criminals. Even convicted felons have certain privacy rights. Some laws prevent the release of their addresses, records, or other info. While meant to protect reformed criminals, it sometimes hides them from public awareness, letting predators move into neighborhoods unnoticed. 33. Cruel and unusual punishment loopholes. The Eighth Amendment bans cruel punishment. But criminals have used it to argue that long prison terms or solitary confinement are unconstitutional. In some cases, judges have reduced sentences for serious offenders, not because they were innocent, but because punishment was deemed too harsh. And there you have it, 33 dumb laws in the US that often end up protecting criminals instead of punishing them. From burglars who can sue you, to violent offenders walking free on technicalities, these laws show just how flawed and messy our system can be. Now it's your turn. Which law shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know. If you learned something new, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss more unbelievable stories and lists. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe, stay smart, and watch out for those loopholes.